Well, hello there, friends. It's me, Dr. Missy Hillock. I'm here with an amazing energy forecast for the week of June 12th through 18th, 2026. Well, here we are, right in the middle of July. And if you've been following along like the last 3 or 4 weeks with my forecast, I've been talking a lot about this phase between June and July and all of these planetary shifts that are happening, alignments, several planets going into retrograde, which is now happening full on this week, several in retrograde. And so it's this really big energetic shift right in the smack dab middle of our year that is really this kind of transition portal from leaving some things in the past and having an opportunity to branch out and see the manifestations of the things we've been working on and the seeds we've been planting and all these beautiful things. But of course, as we know, when we're in transition, things can get a little hairy. They can feel uncomfortable because usually from going to point A to B, that transition phase can tweak our nervous system. Change is often uncomfortable and that can trigger us. And so this week is actually really interesting because on the 14th, we have our new moon this month, which is the new moon in Cancer. Remember, Cancer is the sign that's like the most deeply emotional. And then the moon also symbolizes emotion. So talk about a really, really emotional week. That doesn't necessarily mean bad or tearful or, crazy, but it means it's an opportunity to definitely go inward, to do some reflection this week, to notice what things are coming up and how our nervous system responds to that, or maybe what memories or associations we have with what's going on in real time that may be tethering us to the past or making us fearful or doubtful of the future, and be able to address those in real time. And a great way to describe what that is the idea of doing shadow work. The day before the new moon, which would be the 13th, Monday this week, is what we call the dark moon. And it's the absolute best day of the month to do that shadow work, to go inward. So you've got, if the challenge, if you choose to accept it this week, is a really great opportunity to see what's coming up in life, what is still with you that is standing the test of time that you want to take forward with you on your path, and what are some of the things that are ready to fall away. And when I pulled the cards this week, you're going to find quite a theme, and I'll just go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. The word that continued to come up in every single card that I pulled is the word balance. So I'm going to talk through what that could mean for you, what it means for me, as we're in this time of transition from going from an old phase or old version of us into a new phase or a more elevated version of ourselves. So let's dig in. The decks that I chose this week are also just really good shadow work, kind of deep dive types of decks. The first one I chose is the Inner Child Oracle by Amanda Lynn Aisling. And I've got my finger in the book because I actually want to read a little passage on this card, which I don't always do, but I found the wording specific and I wanted to make sure I shared it. So the card that I drew is card number 28, Review Your Responsibilities. And the tagline says, not all responsibilities are ours to hold. So I'm going to go right into the book and read the message, and then I'll chat about it. So it's talking about the idea that responsibility, there's two sides to that. So it says on one side, if the responsibility is not ours to hold, it can be draining and harmful. On the other side, if the responsibility is ours to hold, it can be very empowering. There are certain aspects of ourselves that only we can be responsible for. Otherwise, we're giving our personal power away. Moreover, if we hold responsibility for another person, it can hinder their growth process and possibly damage our relationship with them. If you have pulled this card, there might be an imbalance, so there's our word, imbalance in your life regarding responsibilities. And I think this is incredibly wise and powerful card to draw during a week like this really powerful shadow work week in this big transition phase of the year, because it is asking us to do the math, do the reflection on where are the things that are weighing us down, slowing us down. What are the things we've taken on probably very much so from a kind heart, from a willingness to help, a willingness to want to solve a problem and make something lighter for someone else. But how has that dragged us down in the process? How has that limited someone else's opportunity to stand up and grow and take ownership? I know personally, I had an experience last week with a very close person in my life who had an accident that happened, and it required some care and attention. And this is a person who isn't normally stepping in to provide good self-care and get good medical attention. And so I inserted myself right into the situation in order to facilitate what I thought was the best course of events to get the care needed. And that is a very old pattern for me. That is something I used to do so much because I'm a helper, I'm a doer. I'm also really resourced. So I feel like I can figure things out. But what I've noticed and what this particular situation gave me an opportunity to reflect on this week was how I may have taken away the opportunity for that person to stand up for themselves and to get out of a pattern and really step into some self-care. And so it doesn't mean what I did was wrong or right. It just means it's an opportunity to see how I have made things my responsibility when they aren't necessarily, and when another person isn't necessarily asking us to step in, right? And the other side to this card is saying, what's the flip side to that? Where have we given our power away by allowing someone else to be responsible for us in some particular way where we haven't grown, and we've been limited? Maybe we've been shackled a little bit in moving forward because we've allowed someone else to make decisions for us, take care of all the finances, plan everything about, life planning, maybe whatever it is, maybe not having some autonomy and some sovereignty or a voice in the things that are really critical to us as an individual. So I really appreciate this card this week as this great reminder to kind of look around and see, what are we taking ownership for? What are we not? And how can we go from imbalance into balance so that we are in our power and not giving our power away, whether it be from letting someone do for us too much or doing for another too much. So great dive there. The next deck that I pulled from, it's a fairly new deck to me, but it has become one of my recent favorites. It is the Fairy Tarot by Radleigh Valentine. I've been using it quite a bit in my personal practice because it has been so spot on, and so I'm just fascinated with it. And I pulled this card, Four of Autumn, and notice it is a queen, a woman of status. She's looking in the mirror, however, and what she sees doesn't reflect reality. She sees kind of a less fabulous version of herself, perhaps one that's not as resourced and not as again, fabulous or divine. Okay. And so the tagline says, manage your resources wisely. Achieve a balance, there's our word, achieve a balance in how you spend and save your money. Help out those who are less fortunate. And I want to speak first to just the first line because it's more general. Manage your resources wisely, okay? A lot of times when we think of resources, we think of money, and money certainly is a great resource, and it does help us out. It's a great one to have, but think about this in relation to our first card about managing our reviewing our responsibilities. Well, what is one of our greatest resources? Our time. Absolutely one of our greatest resources? Our energy, okay? So to me, this is a call for reflecting where we may have gotten out of balance in dispersing our energy, our time in ways that have not produced what we've hoped to produce or gain. And this is something that we all do, especially in our modern world where, we have a lot of great, fun, easy ways to waste time. And I'm not a believer that we shouldn't waste a little time sometimes, do some things to decompress, but there's a difference when it comes to the balance, right? So where have we squandered some of our resources that we really, if we did just a little inventory, could see how can we bring some things back into balance? How can we make sure we're giving ample time to decompress and kind of zone out and do what we need to do in some form or fashion, while also balancing that with some beautiful productivity and organization and all the things that make the dream work, right? This beautiful balance of life. And as it relates to finances, and as it relates to what I'm talking about this transition that we're in, and this phase of discomfort where things feel a little unstable because we don't really know what's coming around the corner, and that can freak us out a little bit, is, money is a thing. It just simply is an emotional trigger for most of us. And again, this is a week of going inward in relation to emotion. So this is a great time to get right. Look money in the eyes. How do I feel about you? Do I respect you? Do I value you? Do I treasure you? Am I a good steward of you? And I think some people have a hard time saying out loud, I love money. I value money. I want to have it. I personally do not have a problem with that. I absolutely value what money brings to my life. And more importantly, how I can then use money to bless, heal, provide service to other people. I think it is an amazing way to use energy. But some people have a little bit of shame or even just a discomfort with being so bold as to say, I love money and I really want to have more. And money is a responsibility, right? So it's a big one. Review your responsibilities. Where have you not maybe been as confident or comfortable in managing money? A lot of times what happens with people when they dream of abundance and they set goals and they have visions of having more financially, immediately they get freaked out about the responsibility of that. The nervous system shuts the idea down because it's like, that's too much. I don't want to deal with having to, figure out how to pay the taxes or invest the money or make sure that I'm not getting taken advantage of. And I will say that's a journey I went on for years to get comfortable with money. And I realized it was so much a responsibility piece. So I love this card with this card because it's saying, if money is something you've been dealing with, if it's something that's been holding you back, either literally with not having enough resources or not having enough to do what it is you'd like to do or live how you want to live, or if it's been holding you back mentally and energetically of just not seeing the results pay off in a way that you're receiving more because there's some type of subconscious shutdown when it comes to money. It's a great invitation for you and money to get acquainted this week and do a little healing and all that good stuff. And then the last deck that I pulled from, perfect for this week, is Yasmin Boland's newest deck, the Dark Moon Oracle, which she made specifically for a week like this that we have, where we can go deep into the shadow side of the moon and really going in and reflecting. And so two cards came out. Card number 19, Find Balance, which represents the new moon in Libra, and card number 6, which represents the new moon in Virgo, and the card is Transition. So I'm going to start with this one first, because here we are again with our balance, literally showing the scales there, right? And so this is just yet another opportunity to say, where in relation to not only responsibility and finances, but energetically, where might there be some imbalance? Where emotionally may there be some imbalance? Are there still some old patterns or ways of responding to things? Again, nervous system responses, these either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses that like automatically run in us when we are in a situation, or even sometimes when we just have a thought or a memory and things start clicking and ticking and we feel a little out of control. So where might there be some opportunity emotionally and mentally to find some balance is the way I see this. And I especially see in that new moon over the crown, saying where in our thoughts And again, where in our emotions is there some imbalance? Maybe some things you're spending too much time thinking about, worrying about, reflecting on, going around and round about, overthinking. This is a call to, again, take some notes, do some reflection on this. It doesn't mean we snap our fingers and we've fixed all these things. It means look at it. Be willing to look at it so that the next time you have that thought, now you're more apt to notice because you've just looked at it, you go, oh yeah, here's that thought coming up again. And you can deal with it consciously and in real time rather than letting it just continue to move you to the next thing in this very unconscious pattern. And then the last card to me brings us back on track and into this beautiful place of excitement and understanding that yes, we are in transition. Remember, that was the other word I've been stressing for weeks, is the transition. And look at this woman as she's walking her path. First of all, look at the path. Is it a straight line? No, right? It's a path with twists and turns. And so it, like any journey, it would be rather boring if it was just like a straight shot. So know that the journey means there are some turns to be taken. Also notice that in this transition, she is approaching this glowing doorway. And the doorway is a finite size. And what came to me when I saw this is she isn't taking everything with her because only so much is going to fit through that door. And if she's walking to the other side of this amazing potentiality and these things that she's been dreaming about and hoping for and planning for and putting things in motion for, she can't carry every bit of baggage, every suitcase, every box through that tiny little doorway. She's going to have to go through the priorities, find some balance, bring the things that are worth bringing with her on the other side, and leave the rest behind. And so to me, I think that is the overarching theme here. And it really is not just for this week, but as we live consciously, as we connect more with our spirituality and our purpose and what gives us joy and excitement in life is, I feel like every day is an opportunity to sort of reevaluate and to come back into harmony and balance so that we can take the next step forward in where this, amazing kind of divine path that we're on. I really hope that this message supports you this week and gives you some opportunity to reflect, to go inward, to be with the most beautiful conscious soul and that is yourself. And I know I'm certainly doing the work and will continue to do so. If you want to keep up with me, you can always follow my YouTube channel here. You'll get a beautiful reminder of our Sovereign Sunday message that comes out each week. And you can also sign up for my mailing list, which is in the description below, where you can get practices and tools and resources and other things to help guide you on your journey. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have a beautiful one. Bye for now, friends.